The Dark Rainbow is a contemporary fiction novel and it is set in Mumbai. I mean, I grew up in Mumbai, so all my impressions when I was writing this book and I knew the city very well. So I felt that I could write a book based in Mumbai because I knew the locations and a whole lot of nitty-gritties that you've got to write in the novel which need to be correct in a manner. So I wanted to do something very modern about the young crowd, because I had gone through that phase, so that was very fresh in my mind that, how we think, how we feel, maybe about our career, it's about our relationships, our future. So I felt that since I've gone through it, I know quite a bit about what's happening and what they would be aspiring for. So that was the entire thing that played in my mind when I wanted to write this book. So I kept it onto Mumbai, and then I was very curious to probably explore a genre which I had no idea about. So I had relationships again, everybody's writing, and and I felt that let me try about two women who eventually get attracted and they fall in love with each other. So that was something which I found very fascinating. I mean, I've known a woman is a very tender being and very emotional, sensitive, and they keep having this grouse that probably the men don't understand them and they don't appeal to their emotional and mental sensibility. So I felt, why not two women, they kind of connect and they get into evolving into a relationship and fulfilling each other the way they want it best. So that was the entire thought in my mind when I wanted to work on this book. And though I had very little parameters or insights about it, because I never had any clue about the same sexual bonding to that degree, and yet having read here and there, you read in a magazine or a story, or maybe you have a friend who's probably has a sensibility to that level and you've interacted, so what is the kind of idea they have in their mind about what is love and everything. So it was an amalgamation of a whole lot of inputs that I've had and which I try to incorporate in my story. And I felt that, maybe let me give it a shot. If it's two women, let's see how it works and how it grows and where it reaches. And finally, I was pretty glad that I could, finish the book and the novel on a subject which I had no idea about, but based on certain common parameters which we are all aware of. I mean, the two characters, one is Rekha, who's a woman from Kerala. She's from Kochi. She's grown up in a small town, and after education, she wants to work in a big city and find job opportunities. So she comes to Bangalore for a while and works here, but she finds that there's very less opportunity because she's into designing. So then she feels that Bombay would be the better place. So then she moves to Mumbai. And there she takes up a job and she finds a boyfriend, which was completely taboo in Kochi, wherein everything was very traditional and girls would be getting married early, and there's a lot of focus on not having a relationship or not being seen with a guy moving around. So she probably goes to Mumbai and realizes it's a free world where she could probably interact with a guy, she could give vent to her desires and dreams, and there's nobody who's actually watching over her. So when she goes to Mumbai, she finds a guy who's a very handsome guy, and she's a young girl, so she'll be fascinated with a guy who's a cool looking dude and who's very handsome, and he's probably having a bit of money to spend on her. So that normal thing which every girl would probably want in a guy. So when she finds, she starts dating him and realizes going to good parties, and those moments are very nice, and especially from a girl who's not gone to nightclubs and parties. There's a whole new world which fascinates her, excites her to that degree. The second character, Tabu, is from Calcutta. So she has been into a relationship with a college senior. She gets pregnant, and this guy then doesn't take responsibility, and he takes her to a very shady place where she gets aborted. So that leaves a trauma on her mind, because she's a young girl and for her this is a completely different aspect and she can't share it with anyone. So she gets completely closed up on men or on relationships because she feels that this guy is not taking my responsibility, and after what she goes through, so she wants to get out of it and wants to go to a new place where she can forget everything and probably start a new life in some way. And so she applies for a job in a call center, because call center industry is booming, and she realized that it's very easy to find an opportunity there. So she comes to Mumbai actually to forget her past. And they happen to be in a hostel wherein the conditions are not very nice, and there's 6-7 girls in the room, and they realize that paying a little more money, they can both be in an independent apartment, which will be more comfortable. So then they rent an apartment and they start living together, start interacting with each other. And Rekha in the meanwhile is also going through her own trauma of a Punjabi handsome boyfriend who is very flirty in nature, and he's probably eyeing every other girl, and maybe he'll just come to her when he's bored of them. So at a certain stage he gets into that temperament. So she starts feeling very let down. So they both actually realize that we are not really very happy with the relationships we've had, and we're not really getting the kind of comfort, the security that every woman aspires for. So that's how they actually come together. I had two friends of mine actually. I mean, it's nothing to do with them, but probably when I thought of Rekha, I thought of this girl who was a Keralite friend of mine. Her name was also Rekha. In a sense, I wanted to dedicate my friendship, whatever times I had, and she always knew that I write well. So I used to get very positive input. So when I made Rekha as a character, it was exactly onto what she is. And when I thought of Tabu, who also happened to be a friend of mine, and her name was also Tabu, and she was a Bengali girl, but both of them were in Mumbai. So they were nowhere from Calcutta or Kochi, but they happened to have studied. So in some sense, even today when I think of the characters, their images, I have not met them for a long time, they've married, they've gone abroad. But yet again, there was a time when they were very good friends of mine, and when I wrote this book and had these two characters, I felt in some way I want to be grateful to the friendship I shared with them, and somewhere I'll keep them alive, at least it'll be that, I mean, it's not like a direct thing, but indirectly, they would be somewhere there, and it's my little gratitude to them. This book took me 10 months. I wrote it for 10 months. I wasn't writing daily actually. There were times I would miss a week of writing, or sometimes I would write every day in a week. But it was more of like I never had a regular writing schedule in that sense. There were times I missed out to a fortnight also. I used to feel very bad about that. That I've not been very disciplined to sit and write. And I had given myself 6 months to write it, but it got stretched to almost 10 months. But still I was happy. At least, I mean, when you keep a target which is like tight, then even if you stretch a bit, you still can manage it. So in 10 months I was able to write it, and I write by hand, I never write on the computer. So I did with a pen and a paper, and then I took 2 months to type it, because typing is a very laborious job. So, and you can't really type like 3-4 hours, 1 hour and you get completely fed up, because it's like you just feel very restless that after 1 year switch off the computer. So 2 months then I took to type it. So I would say 1 year by the time it was in the typed form. No, my writing schedule has been very clear that I won't write more than 1 hour. However good it's coming, however bad it's coming. My writing daily would be from 45 minutes to an hour. If I'm really into that good mood of churning it out in a smooth flow, I do it for 45 minutes. If I'm feeling that there's a stretch, it will go up to 1 hour. Whatever it is, I will finish in that 1 hour, because I don't want to spend my entire life, because life I got one evening. After work, I don't want to spend my evening only doing writing. I want to even have a drink, I want to meet a friend, I want to watch a movie, I want to watch the news. So I don't want writing also to become a part of my life in a manner that I'm switched off from the world. I need to see the world, because that's going to give me the inputs. So I have never got this thing that, I got an idea at a later stage and I feel that I need to write now. I'm never an impulsive writer, that suddenly I get it and I'll write. I would sit, I'll write, I'll finish it in an hour, I'll switch it off, and I'll be very happy, thank God it's over, And then I'll probably fix up a drink, or I'll go out or call up a friend. So I'll carry on with my normal life after that. I feel my being a writer, my being able to write books, and I give a great deal of it to my training in the National Defence Academy. The National Defence Academy, motto is maker of men. They gruel you. Those 3 years are so difficult. You go through so much of physical and mental stress that when you decide something, you more or less achieve it. So that's the gumption, that's the drive the defense training gives you. And also target based, that you've decided you got to do it in a particular time, you cannot get late, it has to be submitted at that moment. So that's very stringent and very strict. So that aspect probably is always there in the back of your mind. You probably, because they've groomed you to that way. I mean, they've chiseled you, and they've just made you into a certain pattern wherein discipline and reaching the target time, that becomes a part of your life. And also to keep pushing it, there's never giving up, because there if you give up or something, then you don't have respect. In the defense, if you give up, even if when you get punished, you used to run 15, 20 kilometers, and if you walk or if you get tired, then you are looked down upon, that you are a weak guy, you don't have, you cannot be a good officer, or you're not fit for it. So that sense of somebody thinking less of me, that actually works, because when you want to do something and you have this fear that somebody will would say that, oh, you couldn't do it. So in defense, that fear is always there, that if you can't match up to that level, then somebody will say, oh, this guy is not very good, or maybe your men will not respect you to that degree. So that aspect becomes very strong. And when I started writing, when I thought I'll do it, then I was having the fear that if I can't do it, not too many people knew that I'm writing, but at least my conscience would feel bad about it. You wanted to do something and you gave up. So I think that training, that regimen, that grooming, that has been a huge part